Fear is the lifeblood of government power. As a consequence, governments throughout the ages have often repeated the time-honoured tactic of taking a real concern, exaggerating it out of all proportion, and using the subsequent fear to justify more money and more power for the government. The sad truth is that this tactic works very effectively, but the Libertarian Party wants to change that. Now, I've got half a dozen examples here. Mid-last century, there was a growing problem with drug use. According to the numbers, this was a manageable problem, but the threat was exaggerated into a social crisis that was used to justify far-reaching new government powers and agencies, billions of dollars spent, probably trillions, and an unwinnable war against hippies. At the end of the last century in this country, there were 3 or 4 high-profile shootings in Australia. According to the numbers, this represented a manageable risk, but the threat was exaggerated into a public panic that was used to justify a crackdown on law-abiding firearm owners, billions of dollars spent, and concentration of power with the state. At the beginning of this century, there was a problem with Islamic terrorism. According to the numbers, this was a manageable problem, but the threat was exaggerated into an existential crisis and used to justify a powerful surveillance state. Billions of dollars spent, once again, at a series of bloody and counterproductive wars. More recently, the world was hit by a concerning variation of the regular flu. According to the numbers, COVID represented a manageable risk, but the threat was exaggerated into a life or death struggle and used to justify unprecedented authoritarian crackdowns, billions of dollars spent, and mandated medical experiments on the public, which didn't work. Since the Industrial Revolution, the world has warmed up by around 1 degree Celsius. This could easily be simply a natural variation, but some claim it was caused by industrialisation, the misanthropes. They wanted to blame human success. Even if that's true, and it's not, global warming would be a manageable risk, but any threat has been exaggerated into the end of the world and used to justify unaffordable electricity prices, billions of dollars spent, and a global industry of grifters and false prophets. Now, another example, Mr. President, was the global financial crisis in 2008. We were told at the time, oh, this is the financial system of the Western world is going to implode. And so what did we do? Oh, we just spent trillions of dollars bailing out dodgy banks. Some of those banks should have fallen over, but we propped them all up. And we're still suffering with the consequences of the GFC. The best way to handle a stock market crash, a big stock market crash, is what Ronald Reagan did in 1987. He said, oh, well, let the market find its own bottom. We're not going to intervene. And then we bounced back with strength. And the last example is, and now we see a growing fear of anti-Semitism in Australia. According to the numbers, this is also a manageable concern, but the threat has been exaggerated into a moral panic that has been used to justify new anti-speech laws, stricter thought crime laws, and stronger police powers that can be used against protesters. These case studies are not exceptions to the rule. This is the standard political playbook that has been used by both sides of politics to always justify more money and power to the government. In each case, there is a curated narrative designed to drive fear and sideline the rational part of our brains, a rushed demand for action, a hyperventilating media, they're usually the problem behind these things, a hyperventilating media eager to tell a dramatic story, and politicians, cheap politicians, quick to take the advantage of the crisis and build their power and legacy. Sometimes these fear campaigns have been exposed, showing that our political emperors have no clothes. Weapons of mass destruction. Mark Latham gave a very good example about the children overboard thing, but weapons of mass destruction and exploding caravan hoaxes leave the government embarrassed, though they will often double down to avoid admitting their mistakes. However, too often these fear campaigns still grip the public, with many people still irrationally scared of cannabis, guns, and carbon dioxide, the gas of life. Humans have evolved to worry. It is healthy to be concerned. We worry so that we can avoid the next cold winter or a saber-toothed tiger around the corner, and that instinct has served us well for most of our history. Unfortunately, that positive instinct about being concerned about safety, etc., has been hijacked by authority figures who benefit from selling fear, despite the relative decline in genuine danger. Some people are able to see through the fear narratives in their own field of expertise and are left dumbfounded by the dishonesty and incompetence of the government and the media. Sadly, many of these people go on to instinctively believe the next fear narrative they hear about a topic outside of their field of expertise. That instinct needs to change. We should aim to get to the bottom of the current caravan hoax, and that's why this inquiry is a good idea, a terrific idea, and repeal the rushed overreaction. This is important. But just as important, it is to learn the right lessons from this exposed fear campaign so that we can get better at seeing through the many other former and future fear campaigns that drive an ever-growing government. Oh, I'm glad the school children are here. I went to school not too far away from you kids, and I want you to tell you, all these other political parties are your enemy. They want the government to boss you around. They want the government to boss you around, and I encourage them to look at the Libertarian
Point of order's
Party.
been
We are your
taken.
friends.
Stop the